Chris Brown, Steve Tasker with you. One Bills Live is the show, and joining the show now is Odyssey NFL insider Ross Tucker. Insider calls are presented by BetQL. Get access to data and insights the sports books don't want you to see. Bet smarter, beat the books. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today. How we doing, Mr. Westwood One Radio?
You know what? We are doing awesome. I'm excited. I'm coming home. I will be up there Saturday for the game. Can't wait. You know, it's funny. You guys know, we've talked about it before. I have a great affinity of the 5 teams I played for. My favorite team was Buffalo for a bunch of different reasons. But I love being able to go to these playoff games. The Ravens won last year. This one Saturday night because we didn't get there when I was a player. You know, we got very close. There's a part of me that's a little jealous because I would have loved to have been a part of, you know, playing a home playoff game in front of those folks up there in Western New York. But I'm living vicariously through this year's team and the great run these guys have been on the last couple of years.
It's still a little bit of a first because last year when they played those 2 playoff games, there's only 6,500 people in the stands, and you know, it's not the same. And now there's a lot of fans here in Western New York. This is the first time in decades that they've had a chance to do this. A lot of fun, and you're right. The weather notwithstanding, this is going to be a special day for not just former players like you who kind of are happy for the fans, happy for the team, but also the fans who've been waiting on it a long time.
Yeah, it's funny, Steve. I can't remember how much. If you say it's 6,500, I believe you. I tweeted last year in the divisional round, you know, being there for that Ravens game, that was the loudest 6,500 people in the history of the world. I mean, when who was it? Johnson? Was it Johnson that had the pick six?
Taron Johnson.
Johnson.
That place went. That's the loudest 6,500 people ever. That place went crazy. It's a terrific point, Steve. I hadn't thought about that. You know, what is it? 55,000 people that are going to be there. 60,000. Most of them have probably never seen a home playoff game. A lot of them. That is awesome. Can't wait to be up there. Can't wait to be working with you on the side, with you being on the broadcast on the sideline. I got to tell you though, Steve, I am so glad that you're on the sideline and I'm in the booth. I'm sorry, dude.
I know.
I was waiting.
I know.
I was waiting to see how long.
Baseball, for the listeners, when you're a sideline reporter, the only thing you care about is the weather. And I'll be on the sideline, by the way, Monday night for the Cardinals at the Rams in LA with the Dome. I think I'll be a little bit to our side.
I was going to say, you know what I'm going to do, because you've done this sideline thing too, and it's no joke. I mean, you're there walking around. You can walk around and stuff, but it's like 5 hours, 6 hours of, you know, relentless weather. And it's
and not only that, so a couple things. Standing up that long, and I just get stiff. You know, I had the back surgery from Dr. Cappuccino when I was up there in Buffalo. So standing is like the worst thing for me. So I don't like that. The other thing is, I don't know about you guys. I don't know what the heck's going on. With every year I get older, I swear I get like 5 degrees colder. When I played in Buffalo, I was like between 310 and 318 maybe. I don't care how cold it was. Pre-game warm-ups, shorts and a t-shirt. No problem. Yeah, I was big and I was young. I guess I had the blood flowing. Now I'm 42. I'm telling you guys, I'm a wimp. I'm free. I get freezing. Like, I don't know what happened to me.
Yeah. Well,
so you're right. I mean, I'm right there, and I'm like 15, 16 years ahead of you too. So I don't
know who you know, Ross, that you get to draw the LA sideline card. Yeah, I mean, you know somebody in a high place to get that draw. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the only stadium in the NFL I haven't been to. So I'm looking forward to that. I will say this, though, and I'm curious what you guys have been talking about this week and what some of the fans up there think. I got to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of divisional matchups in the wild card round. Both the games I'll be a part of, Bills, Patriots, Cardinals, Rams, are exactly that. Look, there's nothing you can do about it, right? The seeding is the seeding. But I don't know. I'd like to see the Bills kind of play somebody else. I'd like to see the Patriots play somebody else as opposed to the third time in 7 weeks. I just think it's a little bit awkward it is what it is. Obviously, you got to go out there and win, and you might have to beat them anyway at some point, even if you didn't play in the wild card round. But if I was czar, somehow I would try to make it so that couldn't happen.
Yeah, like a restriction or something. Yeah, I hear you. The ironic thing is, this is the first time in the Super Bowl era the Bills and Patriots are meeting in the playoffs. They've just never been good at the same time until now. So it's pretty wacky. The only other time they met in the playoffs was in the AFL days in 1963 in an AFL Eastern Division playoff. It's nuts to think that we've gone 58 years and these two teams have never squared off before.
Yeah, I'm curious. What has been the reaction, like the reaction of the fan base about playing New England? Are they like, awesome, let's beat them again? Or is there a little bit like, we just beat them in the last one when we had to, we won the division, can't we play somebody else? I mean, already that place is going to be bananas Saturday night. But it being the Patriots just ratchets up even more.
Yeah, no question about it. There's a lot of angst with the Patriots always. There's still a generation of people who view them as the ultimate evil, but also I think most of the angst comes from if it was 75 and sunny and no wind, the people would feel a little bit more confident about the Bills' ability to run their offense normally. When you get into the cold, and you know this, Ross, the cold isn't really as much as a factor as the wind and the rain is. If it's windy, that's a problem for the Bills, and if it's raining, it's obviously a problem. I think the Patriots are built better for conditions like this than the Bills are at the current moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, they run the ball better, certainly, although the Bills have been running the ball a little bit better more recently. I'll say this. I remember this distinctly from playing in Buffalo. I think in 2004, I started 4 games at center. When Trey Teague went down, the colder it is, the harder the ball gets. And, like, the bigger the ball feels. I can remember I'd have to go over and, like, that ankle spray stuff that they spray on your ankles before they tape your ankles. I would act like I was spraying my ankle and like get some of that on my hand just so I had a little bit of a better grip because the ball would get so hard. It would like balloon up, which by the way, makes sense if you're in a cold environment to maybe take a little bit of air out of it. Somebody might have done that at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder who that could be.
Wow.
So Ross, let me ask you this, because Steve and I were knocking this around yesterday. Quarterbacks, a lot of old school quarterbacks would often lick their hand to get a little bit better grip. But when it's 0 degrees, I'm wondering, are we going into like the triple dog dare tongue on the pole situation there with a football if you're licking your hand? And I don't know if it's going to give you anything when it's that cold. So they may have to go looking for some spray or Tenactin or something to spray on their hand. I don't know what else you do to maintain your grip so you can spin the football.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can still lick your hand. I do. I think that you'll get enough moisture for a little bit. I think you can put the spray stuff on. You know, some guys, the colder it gets, they go with the gloves because the gloves are naturally tackified. I don't think people don't realize that, but there's some natural tackification. Is that even a word? I don't know.
I like it.
The gloves are naturally tackified. So I used to love it. I mean, I used to like, it gave you a little bit of a grip there. Yeah. I didn't like it if I was playing center though, because I wanted to be able to feel the ball. And I don't know about you, Steve, I used to try to get the smallest gloves I possibly could on my hand. Like it'd be like, almost had to have the trainer, like my gloves looked like they were like, glued on because I didn't want there to be any extra material. I just wanted to be able to feel things, the defender, the ball, whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe Mac Jones or Allen. I will say this. Josh has a lot more experience in this kind of weather than Mac Jones does, being a Florida kid who went to Alabama. This will be the coldest game he's ever played in. The last time he played in a windy game, they had him throw the ball 3 times. He hasn't really been playing as well as of late. And I also think, with the ball being harder, all that stuff, it's just a little bit different for Mac Jones. And that should be an edge for the Bills, just the familiarity. And I don't know this, I have to look it up, but I'm sure Josh has bigger hands than Mac Jones as well.
Yeah, I said this yesterday. It really helped the home team. Now, Patriots can do this in New England because it's not that much different weather than Buffalo. But if you get like teams like L.A. or like Miami, New Orleans, who come into Buffalo on a day like it's going to be on Saturday, the fact that you can practice in it and get your gear kind of wired and like kind of dialed in as to what you want to do on game day, like, get the right base layers, trim your T-shirts the right way, trim your base layer on your legs the right way, get all that stuff lined out so I got a plan. Then you can kind of set it aside and think about what the game's going to do. And I remember back in the day, and there's been a list of cold games that have been here in Buffalo. Other teams would come in and they make a big deal. It's a big distraction for them because they don't really know what they want to wear on game day and how they're going to wear. And I made the thing yesterday. For the coldest game in Bills history, our offensive linemen went out sleeveless. The Raiders guys see our guys in sleeveless, without sleeves in warm-up, and they think, okay, if those guys know you can go sleeveless in a cold day. Then our guys went back in for right before the pregame and put the sleeves on, right? So there's some gamesmanship there as well. So there's a lot to it, knowing exactly the distraction of not knowing exactly how to handle it with your gear that you're going to wear for the game.
Yeah, so two thoughts. Number one, I think the Las Vegas Raiders in the game before Bills Patriots are in for a wake-up call in Cincinnati, because I think it's supposed to be really cold in Cincinnati as well. Mm-hmm. And the Raiders, to your point, they play in Las Vegas, they play indoors. They haven't played a game like that. Right. And then in terms of knowing the facility and the weather, when I played for New England, guys, after the Bills cut me, after my back surgery, terrible decision by them, by the way, but after my back surgery and the Bills cut me, I got picked up by New England, and I was floored. Do you know we practiced on the game field every day? It was middle of the year every day, and their game field was terrible. And I remember the coaches being like, yeah, why do you think we do that? So that, A, we want the field to be terrible, and we know where it's terrible. We know what cleats to wear. We know whatever. Meanwhile, the Dolphins come up, and before the game, the guys are like, what is this? Like, this is garbage. Like, they're thinking about it. They're not happy. They got to put different cleats on. That's a very real thing. By the way, the Patriots back then, their groundskeeper got so much criticism, but Belichick wouldn't let them fix it, wouldn't let them water it. It was just basically painted mud that the guy eventually quit. He resigned because of all of the criticism he would get, like in the paper and on the radio. Meanwhile, he was just doing his job. He wasn't allowed to help the field. Belichick wanted the field to be crappy.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. Being an O-lineman, Ross, I need to break down the run games here, respectively, between these two clubs. Obviously, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson have been a nice 1-2 punch for them. Brandon Bolden has kind of taken over the James White role, so to speak, with him being out for the year from a long time ago, earlier in the season. What would you say are their bread and butter run plays that just about everybody has had trouble stopping this season?
Yeah, so one of the things interesting about the Patriots, and this has been the way since I was there, watch when they have short yardage or goal line in this game, they only run one play. They only run either zone left or zone right, or quarterback sneak. But primarily, everybody knows it's coming, but you don't know which way they're doing it, and they might dress it up a little bit with the backfield action. But it's zone, like, you will not see them pull a lineman in short yardage or goal line because of the concern they have about that creating penetration. They don't believe in gap blocking or pulling a lineman on the goal line because they think it's too easy to give up penetration and have the puller get knocked off. Everything they do is zone left, zone right. That's still a big part of who they are. That was a Dante Scarnecchia thing. They've got a right guard in Shaq Mason that is really a good drive blocking player, and they're much better when Trent Brown, the right tackle, is out there. I mean, it's been a significant difference when he's been out there versus when he hasn't. But they're, I don't know. Karras at left guard's just okay. And I think Isaiah Wynn got banged up in the last game. So that's
Yeah.
something to keep an eye on as well, their left tackle.
Yeah, he's got an ankle injury.
Right.
Spinning it around to the Bills, though, as you mentioned earlier, their run game has certainly picked up. It looks like it's something that they can lean on if Josh is a little out of sync with his receiving core. We've seen several times this year, Ross. People ask us, how are the Bills different this year compared to last year? I would say, in my opinion, the passing game isn't quite as dominant or precise as it was last year. They'll have lulls in play in the course of a game, and these last 4 or 5 weeks, they've been able to turn to their running game, and it's carried them through those down times with their passing game until they can click it back into rhythm. I don't know if there's anything that stood out to you in terms of what has worked well for them in the run game, play-wise, per se.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Chris, because when I watch them, it feels like they really struggle, at least until recently, if Josh isn't playing lights out.
Mm-hmm.
Or if Josh is struggling. And it feels like he struggled more this year than he did last year, to your point. More of the turnovers that you don't like to see, more of them not being on the same page. And that's really where I'm at right now with the Bills in the postseason. Whereas last year, I felt like they could still win a game or two, even if Allen didn't play at an MVP caliber level. And I don't know that he did against the Ravens last year. I'm trying to remember the Colts game. I think he played well. I don't know that he was unbelievable in that game.
Yeah, their passing game struggled because you had Diggs nicked up with an oblique muscle injury, and you had Cole Beasley playing with a cracked bone in his leg. Now, they've tried to pace those two guys through the season so they're raring to go in the playoffs, and that is the case now. But you also have the emergence of Dawson Knox, and Isaiah McKenzie tooled this team the last time they played him in Week 16. And now, Ross, I don't know if you've seen this, but they're shorthanded, the Patriots, at cornerback right now. They just put Jalen Mills on the COVID reserve list yesterday. They've got another reserve corner on the COVID list. They may have to play Jawan Williams outside. That's not the best place for him. And Miles Bryant got completely undressed by Isaiah McKenzie in the last game.
Right. Mills going on the list on a Tuesday, 5 days. He can be back for Saturday?
He could.
Or no, he's out.
He could. He's got to test out, though.
Okay. Yeah. So he could. I'm just trying to do the math here. Wednesday, because that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay. That would be significant.
Yeah.
Jalen Mills would be significant one way or the other. And you're right. They didn't have Beasley for that last game, and McKenzie was awesome. It's nice to know that they can have that weapon. But again, Josh was incredible in that game. The one thing I think I'm still frustrated about, speaking of the run game, is that they didn't run Josh Allen at all in the first matchup between these two teams, at least not designed runs. Right. I'd like to think that will be a bigger part of this game plan. Look, it's the playoffs, and, Josh is an absolute weapon with his legs, which I do think is sort of the fallback option for the Bills. If the passing game isn't clicking or firing on all cylinders, it's nice to have a 6'5", 250-pound quarterback that can roll.
I think one of the other things that makes this team different than last year's edition is the fact that their defense is number one in scoring, number one in yards given up. They're harder to move the ball on. Statistically, last year, they were middle of the road, like 16th ranked team in the league, literally. This year, they're a couple of notches better than that, almost on every spot. And over the last 4 games, they've gotten 19 sacks. Their pass rush is coming alive. Now, again, granted, it was the Jets, it was the Falcons.
Panthers.
And the Panthers, let's not knight them
those
just
are still
yet.
NFL teams, and you still got a lot of sacks, a lot of pressure. I think your point's well taken.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the things that helps this team win games when Josh isn't Superman.
Right. They've got the defense, whereas they didn't last year. It's funny, isn't it? It's like the ebb and the flow. The passing game's a little bit lower, the defense a little bit better. Now we got the run game coming a little bit. They just need 3 or 4 in a row to have everything fire just enough to get these wins.
Yeah, and I think that's too. Statistically, they're a top offense. Statistically, they're a top defense. If they if the Bills play their best, even including the Chiefs, including the Packers, they're running up with anybody. But the problem has been the roller coaster they've been on this season. Who's going to play well today as compared to who didn't play well last week? The roller coaster is really the thing that they've got to get off of, because if they can play as well as they can play, they're the team.
Yeah, I think they're as good as anybody. I think they can beat anybody. It's hard to watch them this year and think that they would go on a 4-game run.
Right.
But they can, right? Like if they play like they played at Kansas City earlier in the year or at New England a few weeks ago, they're beating anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Last thing here, Ross. This was a request by Kyle Brandt. He basically wanted you to do his impression of you. He says, don't have him do himself. Have him do my impression of Ross Tucker. So can you duplicate Kyle Brandt's impression of Ross Tucker? How does he do you, I guess?
Oh, man. So, by the way, he would deny throughout college, that he even that he even did an impression of me. But it probably goes something like, just shut up. We're going to get a keg of Yingling, okay? And everything's going to be fine. Just get a keg of Yingling and everything will be fine.
I got to say, when he imitates you, for some reason his eyes get very big. And I don't know why that is, but it's just something that happens when he turns into Ross Tucker.
Well, that's funny because that's the opposite of me. I got squinty eyes. That's bad on his impression. See,
I know.
He's terrible.
I'll have to critique him on that. But thank you for playing along, Ross. We look forward to seeing you up here. Bring your layers, my friend. Bring your layers.
I will. I can't wait. I'm going to try to keep the thing shut, though, until right before kickoff.
I'm not surprised. I don't blame you.
There is no shame in that, Ross. Trust me.
All right. Thanks very much, Ross.
Thanks,
we appreciate
Ross.
the time. We'll see you up here.